Have you ever felt like your body is running on stress? Even on the days where you're not doing anything super stressful, like you are waking up tired, you crash in the afternoon, you can't shut off your brain at night. And no matter what you change with your diet, you feel like nothing is sticking. And a lot of women think that something is wrong with them when this starts happening in their mid to late 30s, their 40s. And more than likely, what is happening is that your cortisol is running the show. And once you get stuck in this loop that I'm going to talk about today, it affects everything. So, I am Ryan. I am your keto cousin. I help men and women get their metabolism working again with simple lifestyle changes. And today we are talking about cortisol. It's the hormone that takes over when you are stressed, when you're tired, when you're overwhelmed, when you're dealing with shifting hormones. And cortisol is a complex topic, but we're going to simplify it today and stick to things that actually will move the needle. And so by the end of today's lesson, you're going to have at least one actionable step that you can take to help tame your cortisol. So, as usual, I have some slides here. I'm going to grab them. Here we go. All right, so let's get into it. So, before we jump in, I really want you to understand something important. Cortisol doesn't just mess with your stress levels, it touches pretty much everything in your body: your blood sugar, your inflammation, your sleep, your cravings, your light, how your body is like responding to light, your hormones. It is involved in so many aspects of our bodies. And we can spend hours talking about it, but today we're keeping it very simple. We're keeping it doable, and we're going to focus on the areas that will move the needle the most, that you'll actually be able to feel in your real life. So here's the thing that nobody warned us about. Once we ladies hit a certain age, everything starts to shift. Your hormones change, your sleep gets weird, and you don't recover the way that you used to, right? The stress that you used to be able to brush off, it hits differently now. And a lot of us are still trying to live like we're 22, right? We're running on caffeine, we're skipping meals, pushing through exhaustion, fasting way too long because it all used to work before, right? But we're feeling awful. And it's really not some kind of mystery. Our bodies are changing, and the way that we handle stress has to change with it. And if we don't adjust, our cortisol is going to stay high. And for a lot of women in this age group, it's been high for years, sometimes even decades. So let me show you how this whole thing turns into a mess. This morning I am drinking rooibos chai, and I have this in some fat, some butter, and some MCT oil powder. So good. No caffeine though. This is caffeine free. So when you're dealing with constant stress, your body reacts. You've got the stress at home, you're rushing around, you're not sleeping, you're eating whatever is convenient. Your hormones are changing, your blood sugar is bouncing all over the place. All of that is going to create inflammation in your body. And when your inflammation goes up, cortisol is what jumps in to try to handle it. That is the job of cortisol, right? It raises your blood sugar though, right? Think about in a fight or flight situation, a lion is chasing you, right? It's your cortisol that's going to allow you to run away. But in order to run away, you need energy. So your blood sugar is going to go up. So you have that energy to run. So cortisol is going to raise your blood sugar. And high blood sugar, guess what it does? It creates even more inflammation. So now you have this loop going on, right? The inflammation is raising cortisol. The cortisol is raising your blood sugar. Your blood sugar is raising your inflammation. And it's easy to get stuck in this loop because our stress tolerance over 35 is not what it used to be. So how do we break this loop? So we're not going to go over 10 things, 20 things. We're going to go over 3 levers. 3 levers that you can pull that will make the biggest difference. And number 1, you might guess, is your blood sugar. Number 2 is going to be your nervous system. And then number 3 is inflammation. And when we get those 3 things moving in the right direction, everything will begin to settle down. Your cortisol will calm down. Your energy will come back. Your cravings will drop. And you're not fighting with your metabolism all day long. So that's what we're going to focus on. So we're going to start with the biggest lever, your blood sugar, right? So if you've been with me for a while, you know that I talk about having protein first, a protein first breakfast. And that's mostly because you don't want to start your day with a bunch of carbs. You don't want sugar, right, hitting your system first thing in the morning. It just sends your insulin up and then you're hungry and cranky a short time after, right? But another option that works really well, especially if you have chronically high insulin and you're trending towards like a high fasting blood sugar, is to do higher fat and moderate protein. So that would be like a classic keto breakfast. And you know, I love keto. So it's very simple and easy. It's a lot of fat, a little protein, no carbs. And the reason it works so well is that after like you're fasting overnight, right? You're sleeping, you're fasting. After overnight fast, your fat, that fat that you're going to start with is going to keep your blood sugar calm. You're not going to spike your insulin. Sometimes when we eat a lot of protein, you can still have, right, a little spike in insulin. So you're going to be able to ride that little wave of ketosis that you might have from that overnight fast and carry that throughout your morning into your lunchtime without feeling hungry, without feeling shaky or stressed out. So what I do most mornings when I'm doing fat and protein is I would have, and this is for me. So if I'm giving you, you know, an example, this is an example that fits, you know, my body, my size, but I'm having something like 50 grams of fat and maybe about 18 grams of protein. It's a really simple, easy breakfast. It looks like about 3 tablespoons of butter and 3 eggs, 3 and 3. So that will give you about a 3-to-1 fat to protein ratio. So that means you're going to have 3 parts fat to every 1 part protein. Okay. So the way I do that is because it might seem like a lot of fat, and how are you getting in that much fat? 3 tablespoons of butter, but it actually, you know, it's not that challenging. So I cook my eggs in about 1.5 tablespoons of butter, and then I add another 1.5 tablespoons of butter to my coffee or my matcha, whatever I'm having. So that's why I have all of this fat in my tea this morning. And this is going to keep you super steady, right? You're not going to be hungry. You're not going to have this cortisol spike. And there's no like mid morning crash. This can take me to lunch, easy. Okay. But one thing you do need to be aware of is if you're going to do this approach, you do want to stay on top of your electrolytes. So whenever you run lower carb or you're doing like a keto diet or a keto, a keto approach, make sure you're adding hefty amounts of salt to your water, and make sure you're hydrating, because you don't want to get your electrolytes thrown off, and that is quite easy to do. So I wanted to say something really quick about fasting, because a lot of us are really going crazy with the fasting. I did keto for about 6 straight years with no breaks. And for a while, it was really great, right? My blood sugar got better. I reversed prediabetes. I had all the energy. I was doing all the things. But around COVID, when COVID hit, things got kind of crazy. And I realized that I was stacking on stress after stress after stress. I was fasting for long periods of time. My carbs were extremely low. Life was stressing me out. My job was stressing me out. And my body was telling me, right, this is not working. And as I started feeling off, I realized I needed to back off of some of the things that were draining me, including having super low carbs all the time and longer fasting. So don't get me wrong, a short overnight fast is great, right? So 12 hours of fasting, maybe 13, that is enough for most menstruating women. You don't need to do continuous 18-hour, 20-hour fasts, OMAD, every single day. It's not going to work, right? You're not trying to just push through and endure and drive your cortisol up, right? Because that's when cortisol is going to come in and try to keep you going when you're running pretty much on empty. So don't make fasting harder than it needs to be. Just give your body a break. So start eating earlier in the day, stop eating earlier in the day, give yourself time to fast overnight, and then break your fast with something that will keep your blood sugar steady, fat, protein. That's it. Okay. So the next lever is your nervous system. And this one is huge because cortisol isn't just about what you're eating, right? It's about how your body perceives your day. And one of the easiest things that you can do is just in the morning when you wake up, step outside just for a minute or two, get sunlight in your eyes. It helps your cortisol spike at the right time and then drop the way it is supposed to later in the day. And it really helps. So get that morning sunlight in. Another tool is a quick breathing pattern. So we have the 4-7-8 breathing pattern where you are breathing in for 4 seconds through your nose. You hold for 7, and then you exhale for 8. And that long exhale is what tells your body that you're okay, right? It allows your heart rate to drop. It calms that stress response down. So you can do that, when you're feeling at work or when you're feeling a little tense, tight, do about 3 or 4 rounds of that and notice how different you feel. And then at night, it's important to kind of wind down on purpose, right? Dim your lights, turn off those screens. It's a great time to pick up a good book. Give your brain a chance to settle down. Your nervous system really can only take so much go, go, go before that cortisol will step in and try to keep you going. So this lever is to stop pushing through everything. Give your body cues that it is safe, that you are okay. Okay, so lever 2, work on that nervous system. And this is the last lever, is inflammation. So when inflammation is high, your cortisol will step in and clean it up. That's what cortisol does. And it's happening And if this is happening to you, right, if you are always inflamed, your cortisol will never get a break. It'll always be high. So your everyday things matter. So if most of your meals are coming out of boxes or coming out of bags, you're having all the powders, you're eating at the drive-through every day, your body's going to stay inflamed. If you're eating foods that are spiking your blood sugar all day, you're going to stay inflamed. If you're not sleeping, if you're always stressed, you're skipping meals, you're going to be inflamed. So you don't have to be perfect about this, but start by swapping out the obvious things, right? Eat real food, avoid the processed food, cook your own food, go for more proteins and fats, go for the veggies, the herbs, things that your body recognizes, and skip the unfamiliar ingredients that you're seeing in these packaged foods. So cut out the junk. And then, you can add in some gentle movement. You don't need to do a whole workout necessarily, but move your body. And then, yeah, I guess that's pretty much it, right? Those are the things you could work on. So cutting out the processed foods, getting in your sleep, and then moving your body. This is going to allow the inflammation to go down so that your cortisol can finally just chill out a bit. All right. So one thing that I added to my guide and journal, Metabolic Mastery, that I didn't think it was that big of a deal, but it actually helps a lot. And that is the journaling section. And you're not like doing all kinds of deep reflection. I don't have it set up that way. It's just they're just spots throughout the journal that allow you to check in with your stress each day, a place to know what kind of set you off, what calmed you down. I even have added some mandala pages that you can color or doodle, so your brain, right, can shut off a little bit at night. Just helps you kind of slow down so that you can see what is affecting you, that little bit of reflection. So again, if you have not checked out my guide and journal, Metabolic Mastery, check it out. It has all the tools you need to help get your metabolism right. So here is your challenge for the week. And we're keeping it really simple. You're going to just pick one lever that I talked about today. You can either work on your blood sugar, right? Start with fat, a little bit of protein, no carbs. You can work on your nervous system, work on that deep breathing, or you can work on your inflammation, removing the processed foods, getting better sleep. You can't try to overhaul your whole life at once, right? Stacking too many habits at once is a recipe for disaster. But just choose one this week that feels the easiest right now and do it every day for the week. And that's it. You'll begin to feel the difference. I promise. You got to just start working on it. So that's it. Those are the three levers. So work on your blood sugar or your nervous system, your inflammation, and you'll start to break that cortisol loop that you've probably been in for quite some time. And when you do that, you're going to be able to think better. You'll be able to sleep better. You won't be fighting cravings all day long. You start getting your metabolism back on track. So you don't have to fix everything overnight. Just start with one thing. So I hope you have a beautiful week, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.